Hey everyone, welcome to What Dogs Really Want, the podcast where we ditch some old school myths and explore what our dogs need to thrive in the modern day world. We're your hosts. There's Maren,
Hello.
Alana,
Hello.
and me, Stefanie. And each week we're going to talk about all things dog, looking through the lens of pathology, enrichment, and empathy. So whether you're a dog professional or just in love with your dog, I think you found the right place.
So this week we are covering the topic of breeds and breed groups, and we're going to be over throughout the episode debunking the myth that breed doesn't matter and that it's only the way you raise them. So stay tuned to hear our opinions and thoughts and evidence behind that statement.
All right, who's going to start?
I think you should start. This is your topic.
Yeah.
I will start. So my specialty is herding dogs. And we have come into this slew of people, I would say in the last 4 years, probably since the pandemic, of people who adopted or bought herding dogs, lots of cattle dogs and Aussie Shepherds, Border Collies. And then they can't understand why their homes are being destroyed, the cats are being terrorized, the children are getting nipped. And it really was crazy for all of us in the conversations to think about that if you're purchasing them, the breeder is not giving you more information about what to expect when you have a herding dog in your life. And the rescues also are not counseling to particular behaviors you might see when you have a herding dog. So I know there's some controversy to breed labeling in shelters, and we'll probably get into more of that later. But just so you can provide your dog with basic needs that they have, because as we all, I think, would agree, we know that dogs were specifically bred for very specific jobs. And just because they're not living on a farm or they're not out in the fields with chickens to take care of, or they're not ridding towns of vermin, it doesn't mean those behaviors go away. If they look at all like the breed that was originally created by us, they're going to have some of that same DNA. It's just how it goes. There is not a gene for a pet dog. You know, some are more social, some are more gentle, and that can figure into what makes for a really good pet. But some of these breeds, people have to recognize what they were originally bred for and not be surprised if those things come out while they're living in your home. It doesn't go away because you don't have a flock of sheep out in your backyard. So it's interesting to me that there's not more recognition for that. And people are always debunking that, thinking that if I just raise them to be a couch potato, even though it's a border collie, he'll be fine because I'm not having him go round up sheep. Versus the other way, if you look at what their DNA is telling them to do when they see fast moving objects or are being very independently working, to me, that just seems so natural that would make sense.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm starting. And ladies, jump in.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like it's a tricky one because I don't know why that's such a hard topic to get into people's heads because I feel like a lot of people do recognize dogs for what they are and what they were bred for, but they just think that it doesn't apply to them or that they can change it or, like you said, like, well, my dog isn't living on a farm, so they're not herding sheep. So why would they still have that instinct? Because they've never herded sheep. Like they don't understand that it is genetically bred into them, no matter if they weren't. If they're even if the breeder is like, well, these ones are bred to be pet dogs, what does that mean? Like just because you're not putting them in their environment that they're meant to be, and it doesn't change the genetics, and I don't know why that's so hard to understand, and I feel
I
like that's
think
the big issue.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. And I feel like when people think that if they take them out of those environments that it'll go away, they often get the total opposite, where it can make it worse because they're
Mm-hmm.
suppressing it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, why is, I knew that like my dog would do this, but it's like so intense. And it's like, well, yeah, because you're suppressing it. You're trying to like completely change them and get rid of those behaviors that are just there. They're not going to go away.
Yeah, I think
That's
we've seen
really
that. I think we've seen that a lot specifically at What Dogs Want is we've had a good several clients who will get, working line dogs or
good.
like field bred dogs and then just try to keep them as pet dogs. And then they send them to us wanting us to fulfill all their needs so that when they're at home, they can just be lazy couch potatoes, like sweet and just want to cuddle. But then we see that it's kind of the opposite because it's like we're the only outlet that these dogs have. And so when we do allow them that inch, they just can't handle it because it's so overstimulating and just they've never been exposed to anything other than, the rules of the house. Like when you're here, you're calm, you cuddle, like, and so it's hard when they only have, you know, what, 5 hours once a week with us, and then that's meant to
Yeah.
fulfill all their needs. I feel like it just backfires, and that's kind of our experience with that.
I agree. And right now we're talking mostly about the high drive working dogs, but we
Sure.
also see it a lot with the toy dogs because everyone complains that they bark all the time and they're not friendly with strangers and they don't want to be touched when they're on walks. But it goes back to what were they originally bred for? The
Mm-hmm.
toy dogs were bred to protect their one person. So it makes sense why, when they're with their person, they sometimes aren't friendly to other people. Or when you're on walks, they're barky because, again, their job is to protect you and alert you of potential threats.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't know that the guy walking down the street is your friend until you allow that to happen naturally and all that stuff. So it's really interesting. It's all the breed groups have their little quirks and tendencies and things that make them amazing and very special, but we don't allow them, we don't recognize that. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a problem for all the dogs. I can't think of one breed group that we don't have people complaining about. And then when you explain, well, gosh, that's what they were specifically bred to do. I mean, even the guardian breeds who really enjoy outdoor time, people complain that their dog is just laying out in the yard, not doing anything and not listening to them. It's like, it doesn't get, that's not even creating a problem for you. You just don't like that they're not listening to you or they're
Yeah, they're
just
not
enjoying
doing exactly what you want them to do.
yeah, it's really fascinating. So I would say probably half of our time is trying to explain to people who your dog is. And this goes for breed mixes too,
Mm-hmm.
because they say, oh no, it's a border collie mix. Like, okay, well, I have a
Mm-hmm.
border collie mix too. And she doesn't like fast moving objects and she will move people around the house. I think the standard thought is if it's got 30% or more of a breed in them, you're highly likely that you'll see some trickle down from that. I think it might even be less than that because one of our girls is only 25% of a certain breed, but we see a lot of tendencies in her. So I don't know, I don't want to debate that, but
Mm-hmm.
you can't be shocked if you see stuff that's in there. So the mixed breeds are almost more complicated because you can't just look up what makes a Malinois. But if you've got a Malinois, Husky, Poodle, that's really complicated. And then you also have to consider the conflict that's going on in their brain.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That's what I was going to get into as well, like talking about the mixes and how that's complicated. Then you have the whole case of things like Bernedoodles, a Bernese Mountain Dog and a Poodle, like two very, very different breeds. And so when you're looking at the behavior that they have, the standard behavior for a Bernese and a standard behavior for a Poodle are so different. So when you mix the two together, what's going on in that dog's brain? And then that's a whole other layer you have to figure out. And I don't know if we want to dive deep into that, but that just made me think of that when you were talking about how breed mixes are even more complicated. The designer breed mixes are even more complicated, I think, a lot of the times.
That's a
Yeah.
good point. Yeah. I feel like a lot of the times they're just mixing to make dogs that are cute and they're not really mixing. I mean, not all breeders, but some of the mixes that we've seen lately, it's like, why would you?
Yeah,
Like,
what's the
it
point?
doesn't, yeah, it doesn't seem like we're considering how conflicting or how highly aroused that dog is going to be because of all of the mixes that it has. And I feel like when you do that and you get a dog like that, it has to like, yeah, be conflicting, and it has to just, I don't know, to not know, like, what direction you're gonna go and not be able to engage in any of the outlets that you want to, I feel like would be like a recipe for insanity, honestly,
Yeah,
like
honestly, it's like a ticking time bomb. Not to
yeah,
be
yeah, like
dramatic, but
well, yeah, it is, like, what something's gonna go wrong at some point.
Yeah. And I want to add too, for those people who are starting to say, well, I have a border collie who is really lazy. It is very much a spectrum,
yeah,
very
it's
much
not
a
a one
spectrum.
size fits all.
Mm-mm.
No, while we have had herding dogs who work, 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 and they can chase frisbees and they can move balls around the yard, and then they want to play tetherball, and then they want to do this. We also have had some that would never herd a ball, a sheep, or anything in their life. They would
And they
rather
do just
just,
want to be in your lap and loved on and
yeah,
Mhm.
everything.
yeah. So it's totally a spectrum. We're not saying that, oh, if you get anything with border collie in it, it's going to do this.
No.
But consider when you decide you don't like your dog's behavior, the first thing I ask is like, okay, well, what are the genetics? Like, what is the makeup of your dog? Do you know what they were originally bred to do? And then if they do know, if they did any research at all, it's like, oh. And so it's weird. Like we kind of said at the beginning, like, why is that not being considered?
Yeah.
And even from the same litter, you're going to have
Yeah.
differences. But it's just don't be shocked if you see specific behaviors in your pup.
Yeah, and
And
I you can continue.
oh no, go ahead, go ahead. We're probably saying about the same
Well, I was
thing.
just saying, and like just because we're saying all of this, it doesn't mean that we're like, oh, well, that's just what a we keep saying border collie as an example because I feel like we all know border collies and they're very like
That's
stereotypical.
always the example.
Yeah. But I feel like it's not like we're just saying, oh, well, you got a border collie, so you're just gonna have to let him bite your kids because that's what a border collie does. Like, we're not saying that. It's just like, okay, look at maybe why he's doing that. And then once you understand why, you can look at ways to redirect and give outlets to then therefore stop the behavior rather than just being upset and trying to train that behavior out without understanding the root cause. Like, we're not saying that your dog is going to have these behaviors and that's just because of their genetics, so you got to suck it up. Like,
Thanks for saying that, because
I just
yeah.
want to make that clear. We're not saying let your border
Oh
collie bite
well.
your kids
Like
unless
da
they
da
need
da
it.
da da. You can't have your Jack
Kidding.
Russell and your cat. No. But yeah, that's a really good point. But that's the start, and then like you said, then look at your environment and what can you manage about your environment to help them, because
Mhm.
they're struggling. I always tell people, when you get really frustrated and you feel like you're struggling with your dog, I guarantee you they're just as frustrated with you and
Yeah,
they're struggling because
you can see it on
they
their
only have
face.
what you provide for them. What?
Like, it's like Jinx, you can see it on her face. Like, when you're getting upset with her when she's barking out in the yard, you can see that she's just as upset with you. You're not letting her bark in the yard.
And I will use that as the perfect time to interject. I know why she barks. She is a border collie, husky, German shepherd. So, of course, it's going to be there. She patrols. And we have found our compromise is she's allowed to patrol once in the morning, once in the afternoon, and once at night, whatever she wants to do. And she can bark for a few minutes. And then it's like, I run out there. I have to go out there. I look at the border with her. I'm like, good job. You keep us so safe. Thank you so much. And it's taken some practice, but now she gets it. I'm acknowledging her behavior. I'm letting her do it. But now we're all safe. The perpetrator's gone. the coyote's not in our yard. So thank you so much. You're so awesome. And now my partner, who at first I think thought I was crazy, now when Jinx runs in the house, he's like, good job, Jinx. That was such a good job. We're so safe. We're so protected. And it just makes her feel like she had purpose and she got to do what she needed to do.
Yeah.
And she really doesn't bark that much anymore. So there are a lot of things you can do to just help them be them, but tailored to modern day.
Yeah.
And not just let them get away with biting children and killing your cat. So
I feel like that's like the whole premise of family dog mediation too. It's just finding that middle ground of where, you're not letting them do whatever they want, but you're also letting them be a dog and do things that fill their cup, because I feel like that it's just necessary to coexist in the house if you guys are both getting a little bit of what you want. And
yeah,
it's just part of having another being living with you that you're going to have to compromise with. Dogs are the same, animals are the same. You have to compromise. You can't just put them in a box and
Yeah.
expect them to be a certain way.
I feel like that's
exactly.
kind of like, I feel like you always use this metaphor about like if you were to be abducted by aliens and the aliens have like really studied the human race and like made a nice little model of a little, suburban neighborhood. There's a little McDonald's on the corner and they're like, this is all the humans need. Like this is what they should want. Like they should be perfectly happy here. And they really have the best intentions and they mean the best, but there's no dogs in the town. Like, and so us three, just as an example, we're going to go to that town and be like, one, we don't eat McDonald's. Two, there's no dogs. We want to work with the dogs. And like the aliens have the best of intentions, but they're not looking at us
Right.
as individuals and what we need to be happy. They're just expecting us to like their ideal. And that's like
Mhm.
Yeah.
almost like what we do with pet dogs. It's like we're putting them in this captive environment that we've tried our hardest to curate and give them a good life with a comfy bed and all these toys and the best quality food. But that's not necessarily what they need to thrive and be happy. Like we need to look at all the outside factors as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. It's not like projecting our own needs onto them. It's like
Yeah.
we need to step outside of that and look at their needs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which we
And
might
that's
not understand. Like,
yeah.
I don't understand why Jinx likes to run around the yard and bark and eat cardboard, but I understand that that's what makes her happy and that's what she needs. So fair enough.
She
And
gets a little piece of cardboard.
tiny bit.
You can have this one. But yeah, and we have a great relationship because of that. And I think it's also important because having this information can help you make a better choice for your family and your environment and your lifestyle. There are certain breed groups that I absolutely couldn't live with, and I won't name those because I don't want to offend anybody. It's just
It's personal preference.
it's just personal preference. It's like dating. It's like, oh, I
Yeah.
wouldn't. There's nothing wrong with that guy. We just don't gel, or whatever it is. But that's where you're not going to find yourself maybe in like what the hell is going on with this dog. You see that a lot when people get Malinois, because I saw on TikTok that they're really smart and they like to do stuff. That was like the popular breed for a little while, and that is another podcast. We could do a whole podcast on Malinois, and they are lovely.
We could do a
And we
whole
know
podcast on like social media versus reality of dogs and dog training.
that's on the list because yeah, that it really skews people's perspective. Um,
And
but yeah, it's
yeah,
just tough.
just a
Go ahead.
little, I won't get into it too much, but it's like when, like you were saying, like people will see a Malinois on social media and think it's so cool and so smart and can do so much. They're seeing this Malinois with probably years of training, who this person is like a full-time parent to this dog and has worked with them so much to do these really cool things. That is not a Malinois that you got last week and just leave at home and then expect to do all these things. Like it's like you're seeing this perfectly curated version of a dog. Realistically, that's not
Right.
that's not what that dog is going to look like in the everyday household.
Right. Oh, that made me think of something too. Oh, so we just had a client. They have a German Shepherd, cattle dog, chow. And we had a really long talk the other day, and they really are trying to learn their dog and do right by him. And he's a cool dog. Elena's met him, and we've said, like, we would have a dog like this. And he loves it here. And he has this other place he goes for boarding, and it's like some alpaca ranch. And he loves going there, and he doesn't want to leave here, and he doesn't want to leave there. They also send him to dog daycare because they think he wants to be socialized with dogs, and that's what you're supposed to do. But they said whenever they pick him up from there, he just beelines. He just wants to go home. And they were really confused about why is he like that? And I won't get into the dog daycare part, except he's probably overstimulated and just wiped out because he's probably trying to control every other dog that's there. But I said, I think what he really likes about what we do and when he's at the ranch is he's working, like he is a working dog, a German Shepherd, a cattle dog, and a chow. Like those guys are smart and they like to keep busy generally. Spectrum. But he's on this end of the spectrum. And he loves working here. He likes the challenges. He gets frustrated, but he likes to learn. And he was with us on Monday, and Elena was taking him out to his dad, and he pressed himself against the wall, and he was really confused by that. And I'm like, but we're giving him purpose. He's got autonomy here. That's in his genetics to be like that. And I'm sure the ranch too, he's outside, he's helping out with chores on a farm. So it's just really interesting. And then he's like, oh my gosh, so maybe I shouldn't take the daycare. And I said, well, you have to decide if he's having fun. But I think that's why you're seeing the difference, because he's in his element here and he's in his element working on the ranch. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Just when you find that right fit for them, just kind of like us, when you're doing your favorite thing and with your favorite people and your favorite environment, you're feeling good. You're feeling happy. You're tolerant of a lot more. You just are overall relaxed. And
Makes sense.
I kind of get going on these things because
he's a cool dog, especially looking at his genetics. It makes sense why he doesn't want to be in a big group of other dogs and wants to work solo. Or when he is in a group of other dogs, feels the need to kind of manage and kind of like police them. That's the cattle dog. And I just feel like he's like a perfect example of like all the mixes together, what it can be. Like he just wants to work. He, doesn't want anyone to bother him, and that's fair. He likes what he likes. He knows what he knows. And
he protects the person that he's with.
Yeah, the protective aspect. Yeah, he really didn't want to go home. It was really sweet, but I was like, buddy, you gotta go with your dad. You can't stay here forever. You don't have to go home, but you do have to get out of here.
But you can't stay here.
You can't stay here.
But that's a dog, and I say this about my beloved Jinx too, is it's not a dog for just anyone. I am so thankful that we have Jinx because she can appear aggressive. She's got a long list of preferences and expectations for other people and other dogs. And in the wrong home, I think she would have been rehomed, sent to a boot camp to have that shocked out of her and suppressed. And that would have been a disaster. We have totally found a way to communicate and let her have her things. And like with the cardboard, she loves to shred and then she starts to eat it, and she will growl and snap if you're just like, no, you can't have that cardboard. But what we've found, if you take another piece of cardboard and rip off a little bit, like, can you have this one instead? And I'll take that one. She's fine. She just wants a little bit of cardboard. So as long as she's not feeling like we never let her do anything that she wants to do. So it's just really important to be aware of those things. And
some extra fiber.
Yeah, right.
I mean, she knows what
Come
she's
on,
doing.
Mom.
Yeah, I know. And I will say, there are the dog DNA tests that are out there, and they're pretty accurate, some better than others, but it's a good start. And there's also our friend and mentor and the most intelligent dog person on the planet, Kim Brophy, developed this app called the Dog Key. It's a free app, and it's all based on physical characteristics You answer a bunch of questions. And I will say that our little Chi Poopin Shits, she's a Chihuahua Poodle Shih Tzu Min Pin, helped tailor the test because she should have come up as a terrier toy mix, and she kept
Came
coming
up
up
as a
as
bulldog.
because
She's a little chunky.
she was chunky, and
In her
so
little mouth.
I know. So
Yeah, because it's questions like how much does your dog weigh? What does their coat look like? What shape are their ears? Are they floppy? Are they pointy? Things like that.
it's great, and there are examples if you are not sure what Rose ears look like. There's all kinds of examples, and it's highly accurate. Highly accurate. So we'll put the link in our notes,
Yeah.
but it's just thedogkey.com, and it's fun. We've actually used it with our clients to help make the algorithm even stronger. And that's where we found that it's actually quite accurate unless your dog is short coated with a long tail and a little chubby. Then it kind of goes
And
into
you're
the
in
bulldog
trouble.
the bulldog category, but I believe Kim tweaked that a little bit to increase how much dogs could weigh and still be in the terrier category.
There should be a question on there. Is your dog their ideal weight, or are they a little chunky?
I know, because it might bump you up into the other breed group.
Yeah.
I know, but it's really amazing. So I would highly recommend, if you don't know what your dog is, if you're curious, it's great if there are shelter people out there and you don't have the funding to do the DNA test, because currently they are pretty expensive. Check it out. And it breaks it down into breed groups, not just tell you, oh, it's a Irish Wolfhound, but it'll tell you what breed group and then the general characteristics you could expect to see in those breed groups. So it's phenomenal.
And speaking of projects that we are currently involved with within the family dog mediation community and associated with them, we are also in the middle of fundraising for the What's Your Mutt DNA project, which is basically trying to create low to no cost DNA tests to provide shelters and rescues with, so that they can DNA test the dogs in their care and then therefore better cater their care for that particular dog based on what they may need, based on their genetics, and then also turn around and better educate potential adopters and the public about what this dog might need, what home they might do well in, trying to just throw some more education out there, because a lot of the DNA tests out there are really helpful and accurate, but maybe shelters don't have the funding or the resources to afford them. So this will be a low to no cost. And we're still in the fundraising phase of this project. So if you wanted to donate, you can do that on the Family Dog Mediation website, which is familydogmediation.com. And we'll also just put a link to the donation in our show notes down below to donate to that. And because we believe that DNA testing is important in shelters, and breed labeling and breed knowledge is important all around in the dog world, including shelters and rescues.
Yes.
Agreed.
Yeah. And any amount helps. $1. If everybody donated $1, we'd be able to get the lab up. It'll take about a year to get all the kinks worked out. But in the meantime, a lot of shelter dogs will benefit from that. And I think eventually the goal is to sell those to the public, which will then in turn keep funding the tests for shelters. So you can feel good about purchasing a test from those.
One for you, one for a shelter dog.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I think the main goal of that too is just to help with not all of the returns, or not returns, but the rehoming. You know, I feel like that's the main goal with this is, you know, people know exactly what they're getting into, and then a year or two later, the dogs aren't returning to the same shelter that they were adopted from. So I feel like that's the problem in the shelter world right now. So I feel like this is a good solution for it.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of shelters, and I think we can all understand why a lot of shelters and rescues are hesitant to label breeds, because they don't want to put any negative stereotypes out there or like discourage potential adopters, because I think the main goal is to get dogs out of the shelter and into a home,
Mm-hmm.
which is completely respectable and, you know, commendable and everything like that. But like Elena was saying, the issue with that is if the potential adopter isn't educated or informed about what dog they're getting, and they just go based on looks or the small snippet of personality they see in the shelter, which honestly is not really a reflection of what that dog would be in a home life because the environment is just so different. um, it is a much higher possibility of that dog being returned to the shelter or rehomed or put in a potentially negative situation because the people aren't sure what they're getting into and then they're just trying to deal with what's landed in their lap. So I think that uh, obviously a big issue is, getting rid of the stereotypes around certain breeds because then people would feel more comfortable labeling the breeds just as educational. Because I feel like a lot of people hear some breeds and think it's like a dirty word or something when it's just for knowledge. It's just saying what this dog is and what behave. Like, I think that's important, and I think a lot of people just see it as a negative when it shouldn't be.
I think if we're gonna, take the responsibility of breeding dogs, we also need to own up to what we're breeding. So
Yes.
we can't tiptoe around it if we're gonna breed these dogs and they're gonna turn out a certain way. It's on us to represent them properly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say every dog in the proper environment can thrive and can have a family that loves them and the family loves them back. But a mismatch can be disastrous,
Yeah.
disastrous, and it's not fair. And
There's
um,
Clover.
Oh, Clover.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between, I feel like a lot of people say that any dog in a loving home can be changed or can be made to be fit that home. And I think that's a really big misunderstanding when in reality it's any dog in the right home can thrive. But sometimes it can be really tricky to find the right home because not every home is the right home for every dog, no matter how good of intention you have, no matter how loving you are, no matter how much you care about dogs and how much money you have to spend on your dogs. You just honestly may not be the right home for this dog. And that's okay. You just have to find the dog that you are the right home for.
Yeah, definitely.
and again, if you can't provide what that dog needs, he's not going to be happy living there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no
It's
one's
just
going to be happy, and it's not fair for anyone. And that's okay.
right.
You don't have to be responsible for saving every single dog because you're not going to do right by every single dog. You can save the dogs that you know you can do right by, and
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah,
Quality
without
over quantity.
Yeah, quality over
really,
quantity, honestly.
Yeah.
truly at this point, and it's ugly out there. The shelters are drowning. They're doing what they can. It's not their fault.
No.
But having
Mm-mm.
better matches, as like Elena pointed out, is going to keep those dogs in their home. So that's part of the problem. Let's work on that part of the problem. The relinquishment is off the chart. It's crazy. People bring dogs back all the time or just dump them, and let's try to solve that problem. So I think smart adoptions and smart counseling, and that's also not on the shelter staff completely. We're trying to give them tools and provide tools for them through the family dog mediation education center. But I was talking to a friend of mine who runs a shelter, and I asked her, I said, do you guys do a lot of breed counseling or breed group counseling? And we've given them resources to do so. And she said, to be quite honest with you, we don't, because I just assume people walk in here knowing what kind of dog they want. And I said, I would say don't assume. But I thought
Yeah.
that was really interesting because I bet a lot of shelters think that too. Like people go online and like, what's a German Shepherd?
Yeah,
What's a
especially if they come in there so gung ho about like, I really want a border collie. Like you would think like, oh, this person knows border collies, not just, oh, this
yeah,
person has seen a border collie on TV and thinks they're pretty.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Because you want to
or
assume the best in people.
right. And then the puppies make it really complicated because, of course, no matter what kind of puppy you're looking at, they're ridiculously cute. And then if you do think like, well, I'll give it a good home and
I
everything's
feel
going
like
to
the
be fine,
most complicated dogs are the cutest puppies. That's the issue.
Yeah.
you're probably right. You're
Sheppies,
probably
border collies, huskies, chow chows are the
right.
cutest puppies in the
Healers.
world, but my God.
And then you get the Pomskis, which are like
Oh my God.
nightmares because
Mm.
they're smart and independent and tenacious, and they
Yappy
are
and
yeah, yeah, that's a good point. But that's why,
If you see a cute puppy, you should probably turn the other direction because they're going to be a nightmare. Just kidding.
the ugliest puppy you can find.
Yeah, you want an ugly duckling because they'll blossom into a lovely dog.
That is not science-based.
This is all, these views are my own. These views do not reflect the company in which I represent.
No. But people just need to do some homework too and really take a hard look at what you're willing to live with and what you're not willing to live with, and put in the time and the effort. If you're going to take that dog home, be ready for it.
Yeah.
You know, whatever it is, you know.
Because the thing is, like,
you're not.
Sorry. You're allowed to adopt a dog that you don't know a lot or you don't have a lot of experience with, you know, because if you're willing to learn and put in the effort and cultivate that relationship and learn what that dog needs, all the power to you. Like, we're not saying like only people who like know border collies should be allowed to adopt border collies. Like, if you're wanting a border collie for the first time, and I keep saying border collie, if you're wanting
pug
Cane Corso for the first time and you've done your research and you would really like to do this and learn about them and make this beautiful relationship with them, go for it, you know, because like, how else are you going to learn and like create that? But if we're just saying, you know, the people who just see them, think they're cool, and just almost like an impulse buy, we don't want that.
Well, and I think there's not a lot of material out there or resources out there for people to fully learn about breeds.
That's
up
true.
Until recently. You know, it's like you do a quick internet search and it's like, oh, they like, you know, this dog likes to, you know, do this, or it's so basic. So
Yeah,
I
that's
think,
true.
it's like the AKC standards where it's like, oh, they like to flush birds out and all that kind of stuff, but really like in a home setting.
What can you do to give them the outlet? Like, it's not really readily available.
And we're not going to get any more of that until we start addressing the breeds and diving deeper into it and making it more known to the public. It's not like it's a secret that we can gatekeep. Like, we have to get that information out there.
And
And mention the spectrums, because you see that a lot too. Like some of the charts. Well, it rates 4 on sociability. Like some might, you know, like there's.
That's the thing. It's all a spectrum.
Yeah, it's hard. It's just not black and white for any dogs, but that's why this information is so invaluable.
Yeah. And I was gonna say, I don't know how much I want to get into it, but then again, like, there are certain types of dogs that, you know, may have more of a predisposition for undesirable behaviors, such as like resource guarding, aggression, things like that, which obviously are things that you don't want in a home environment and you need to figure out a way to work around. But I feel like if just the average person were to see that behavior pop up and then just Google, like, my blank is trying to growl at me when I take his food bowl away, the first resources that are going to pop up are like boot camps, board trains, trainers.
How to stop it.
Yeah, just how to stop it, like a one-size-fits-all approach to just how to get rid of that behavior, because that behavior is not okay, rather than someone taking the time to be like, okay, I understand you want to stop that behavior. You can look, if you look at their genetics, this might be why that's happening. So here's some tools we can do to like work with that, rather than, well, just put a shock collar on him, and if he growls at you, take his food away, because that's not allowed to happen. Like, you know, and I don't want to get into that too much, but I just feel like there's not the right resources out there that kind of cater to the uniqueness of each dog and each breed.
That brings up another amazing resource. Thank you, Kim Brophy. We'll put a link for the Dog's Truth. It's a 1-hour movie on YouTube, and it does a fantastic job of explaining the breed groups and what they were bred for and how that might show up in a home environment. It's amazing. You will never look at dogs the same way again if you
also the book Meet Your Dog by Kim Brophy.
Well, she's
our sponsored by Kim Brophy.
She's really done an amazing job of making ethology part of the equation because
and making it more accessible to the everyday person.
Yeah, some trainers have tried to go there and some scientists have tried to go there, but it's beat down because people want to stop this. Well, I don't care if it's chasing cats, it can't. I don't
Mm-hmm.
care if it's hitting my kids, it can't. Well,
Mm-hmm.
let's figure out why and how you can help them, or
Yeah.
maybe that's not a good fit for you. And so she's the one who's really brought this to the forefront, and it's really important. So yeah, we'll put all of her resources available.
Yeah. And I think I mentioned last time, like a really good metaphor she has that kind of loops into, especially what we're talking about this episode with the breed groups, is like the lock and key metaphor. Like she says, you have to find the right key to your lock. Like, not every, like, you and your home is the lock, and you need a dog that fits the key to that lock. Like, not every dog is going to fit that lock, and that's okay. You just have to find the
Mhm.
one that does. You can't try to force, because then you're going to break the lock, break the key. Like, you have to find the balance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
So I think that's
She
relevant.
also, one more shout out to Kim Brophy.
And then we'll be
She had another really good analogy.
She's
I
like,
like.
leave me alone.
oh my god.
Now she's like, I don't even know
Her
you
ears are
people.
burning.
Who are you again?
I know. But she talks about how we just put dogs in categories. And it's like if you just put all balls are the same, she refers to that, I think, a lot in Meet Your Dog, is you're not going to get the same thing from a bowling ball that you are from a tennis ball. So if you try to hit a bowling ball with a tennis racket, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
But they're all balls. So it's the same thing with dogs. They're all dogs, yet so unique in what their purpose is and their function is.
Yeah.
That's true, yeah.
So if that helps,
Yeah.
light bulb moment in anybody.
We just keep throwing out metaphors. Are any of these sticking with you guys?
Anything. What else do
Balls,
you want?
locks. What do you guys like?
Flashcards. That's next.
I'm trying.
We are going to dive into the breed groups next
Yeah.
time, right, too? So I
Yeah.
think that'll
Yeah.
be good.
Because I feel like we've been saying a lot about like breeds matter, breed groups matter, and like they can do all this and that, but we haven't really said like, what if you do get this type of dog, what that means, which we will dive into deeper next week. I think we're each going to take turns diving into all the different types of breed groups, doing a deep dive of like what breeds that encompasses, what behaviors you might expect of them, like what they
How you
might
can
need
manage
from
the environment.
you, how to connect with them better. So
The
really,
enrichment
we
that
just
they
want to
might
do a little overview of the 10 breed groups so people know what they are and what we'll be talking about.
Sure.
Let's go round circle. Let's each keep naming them until we get all 10.
Oh man. Okay, sure. I'll start. The herding group.
Okay, the scent hounds,
Toy dog,
Terriers.
sight hounds,
natural dog,
Guardians.
world dogs,
bulldogs.
Uh, um, did we already say
I
world
might have
dogs?
miscounted. We might have hit them all.
gun dogs.
Gun dogs.
Gun dogs.
Is that it?
That'll
Okay.
be it.
I don't know.
That
We
was
were just
horrible.
blank.
That was a bad
We're like
idea.
breed groups, and then we don't
I'm
say
like, I'll
anything.
keep
Making
track,
them up.
just moving my fingers willy nilly.
I realized that. I'm like, wait a minute. We'll put those in the show
Jazz
notes.
hands. I'm like, oh, I wasn't keeping count, you guys.
You're just pretending.
But yeah, so we'll do a deeper dive into those next week to talk about what that means for each of those breed groups, rather than just it matters. We'll tell you like why it matters.
And how you can
More
support them
metaphors.
better.
Yeah.
And please,
you can
even if
cultivate
you
a
are,
relationship.
yes. And even if you are a big fan of a particular kind of breed group, listen to all of them, because if you know anybody that has a dog in a different breed group, or you're considering getting another dog that might be in a different breed group than your go-to, it's really good information. Or at a dog park or on a walk, it just really gives you a lot of insight to their behavior, their needs, how it might react to your dog, vice versa.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something we didn't really cover that I think we were going to, but when you are thinking about getting a dog and looking at what dog would fit your lifestyle, you also have to consider factors like, do you have other dogs in the home? What breed are they? Do you have cats? Do you have kids? Like, there are so many factors that you need to look at, because if you have, you know, a Chihuahua at home and you're thinking of bringing in a border
You're kind of
collie,
closest.
it might not mesh. It might be beautiful, but you have to think about that. Like, how is this breed group interact with this breed group potentially? Like, are there certain things that could make them clash? It's just a lot of different factors that you don't have to, but you should consider when you're looking at bringing another living being into your home environment.
Consider
Yeah.
considering. That's our mantra.
Considering. Yes. Thanks for hanging out with us on What Dogs Really Want. If you liked this episode, hit that follow button, leave a review or comment, and share with someone whose dog might be trying to tell them something. If you have a myth you want busted or a behavior you are curious about, drop us a DM or voice memo at What Dogs Want, and we'll try to cover it in a future episode. Until next time, stay kind and curious and do fun stuff with your dog.